against each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. It is so nice to have you here tonight on this, I don't know, what's the word if it's not pre-apocalyptic and not post-apocalyptic? During apocalyptic transmission of Rogue Ways to your eyeballs and your ears. If you are watching on Facebook, I can't see your comments, so if you want to hop over to YouTube or DLive, which is working again, then you can do that and I will see your comments. There's usually more people on YouTube if you're looking for people to interact with. I will try to say that again since not everyone hears the very beginning. I'll tell you guys some things while we're waiting for people to show up. You have access to my website. It's CoreySharman.com, but you can also type in rogueways.org and get there to the same exact place. You can get all kinds of stuff here. There's neat things that I write if you want to read some stuff that I do. There are tickets to the Logic 2020 event this summer in Pennsylvania. We're going to have some pretty amazing people there. So you can check that out. You can also get a lot of old episodes of Rogue Ways, although I no longer host them myself. You can actually find the audio files on SoundCloud or any podcast app that you have will have Rogue Ways on it, so you can find it there too. So either of those works. You can check out tarot. I offer tarot for people. You can read a little bit about my methods and what it costs. You can gift me through PayPal, and I will appreciate that donation and or purchase of a tarot reading by you doing that. You can also then hop over to the shop if you feel more comfortable buying a tarot reading or other things that way. There is a shop. You can get Rogue Ways gear, like all kinds of shirts and cups and mugs and things like that. And again, the Logic event tickets are here, and if you click on classes and tarot, that's where you will find the readings. You will find guidance sessions if you would like some life guidance outside of a tarot reading, and different classes that I offer to people. So those are all here waiting for you. And I almost forgot, you can also buy my books here. Sine Curve of Aeons, Sine Curve hardcover, my memoir, Gypsy on the Res. It's just a short piece of my life. It's a short memoir. It's pretty funny. And Mutable Reality is a pretty old poetry book that I've written. So you can check out all that stuff. I think that's all that's on my site. And then, of course, as always, I would love for you to subscribe on Subscribestar. That is the best way to support me. Donations are always welcome, of course. The super chats and super stickers are always welcome, of course, but Subscribestar is my favorite way because there's even more content here for you and lots of giveaways like these coasters that I'm giving away. We've got a couple entrants into that. It's drawing, and then also my novels audiobook that I'm creating is there as well. And so you can listen to those. There's one chapter that's free on YouTube for anyone. Just like there's one monthly tarot reading that's free to anyone for you guys to get sort of an idea of how those things go and to see if you want more. And if you do, it's on Subscribestar that you can support me the best. That is the best. I love it. I'm going to say what's up to Philip in the chats. What's up, Philip? I'm going to say what's up to the Digital Apparition. That guy's really hot, I heard. He's pretty sexy. What's up, Sue? Sasha's here. Jeff's here. And as it has been happening, it is telling me that 0 people are watching. So I have no idea what the true amount is. I just saw on SoundCloud that I actually have quite a few people listening on the podcast. So I'm really glad that I decided to do that again, because the last way I was doing it, I had no way of knowing if anyone was listening. And now I get actual stats. So like, oh, that was a good choice. So thanks to those of you who are listening on the podcast. You can also come subscribe at Subscribestar. That would be rad. I'm going to say it again before I forget to say it ever again. If you're watching on Facebook, I can't see your comments until after this is over, unless you hop over to YouTube or DLive and find Rogue Ways and jump in the chat there, and that's how I see comments live. So that is what you can do. So, so much going on, so much stress. Everybody take a deep breath. just blow it out. It's been crazy hectic. There's been people exploding all over the place in emotional chaos. I still haven't seen anybody who has coronavirus. Not to say that there aren't people that do have it, but just I haven't seen any, but I've seen a bunch of casualties of the freak out and the stress and the chaos. And that has been really sad to watch. It's been really disappointing to see that that sadness, and sometimes it's overwhelming for me. And I shared a bit about the last overwhelming moments I had, and then more recently my most overwhelming moments were when 4 of my close friends were all attacking me in one day, all on the same sort of thread, and we'll get to that in this talk. So that has been a lot more, that has affected my life a lot more than the virus has, but it's coming from this virus or the fear of it, so it's interesting. What's up, Noah, in the chat? Nice to see you. So yeah, I've been, to deal with all that stress and all the chaos and all everyone's emotions running sort of rampant, I've been gardening a lot, which is an awesome way to get your stress and any kind of emotional turmoil you have, whether it's sadness or stress or anger or whatever, like put it in the ground. Like the ground can take it. It's the eternal solvent, or it's not really the eternal solvent. It's the eternal sink. It's the eternal energy sink. So you can give it all to the earth and she doesn't mind. She likes it. In fact, she likes the attention. So I went out, I got some shrubs, some fruiting shrubs. I got berries, I got currants, blueberries, and some other berry I keep forgetting. I planted those the other day. And then I've got my starts. If you follow me on Facebook, you saw my starts and my little babies are starting to grow. I've got broccoli coming up. They're so cute when they're sprouting. They're so tiny. I seriously think of them as babies. And today I was on a walk and I walked by, my own house, and I looked over and I saw that one of them had fallen off, and I was like, ah! like, run over to save them. And so I'm already very attached to them, but that is what I've been doing to sort of channel all this energy that is going on, because it's the perfect time for it. And especially if things start to fall apart more and more, I'll have food. Hopefully, if it survives and thrives, which I think it will. So it's been a good pastime to sort of get through it all. I've also been fasting. I've been mentioning that to you guys. My current plan is to fast every other day. It both saves money and, all the panic buying. The stores are sort of empty, so it conserves food. And it gives me goals while we're all kind of on this, whatever you want to call it, lockdown, sort of quarantine type time. And so it's nice. It's a good time to be doing that as well. It makes it easier to get through things when you've got goals and projects you're working on. And then I also have other projects like these coasters that I made that you can win by being on Subscribestar. So things like that keep me occupied and, still working and doing other things too. So that's what I've been up to during all of this panic and chaos that's going on. But I'm going to say what's up to Andrew. Nice to see you. What's up? Diverse City. Like it. Nice. Like your name. I swear I saw someone else in here, but if I missed you, what's up? All right, and last chance. If you're on Facebook, I don't see your comments unless you want to jump over to YouTube and then I see your comments. So that is up to you. So yeah, I want to talk to you guys about not being dead yet. So probably I'm really bad with time. So I should have thought about this before the show, but I'm going to say 5 years ago. 6 years ago. Fuck. 5 or 6 years ago, let's say. I was finally, I had gotten my master's in teaching, and I'd been teaching for a number of years, but I'd sort of traveled around a lot because when I started teaching, the economy tanked in 2008. And so there were no jobs. They were laying off teachers left and right. So new teachers had a really hard time finding work. So I would find, part-time, or I would find what they call non-continuing, which means you're just working for a year. Usually someone's pregnant or something and took the year off and you're kind of filling in for them. And I found a lot of those each year. And so I kept moving around, but I never found anything solid. And then I went and taught in Turkey, and then I went and taught in Bahrain, and then I came back, and it was mid-year because I ran away from Bahrain in the middle of the year because it was crazy and people were dying from bombs. But so I came back, and I still couldn't find a job because it was the middle of the year. And so that next year was the first year that I got a continuing teaching position. So I got this job and I was finally like, there, like I had made it. I'm going to have this job now forever. And so now I'm going to buy a house. And so I bought a house, and it was in the house in the same little town where I was teaching, and it was gorgeous. It was on a river. It was everything I ever thought I wanted. It was amazingly beautiful. I started a garden there too. And then I kind of like realized that I had just stopped, like I got my career and I got my house, and then I was like, well, what now? Like, what are we supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do now? Like, this is it. And I had this really strange time where I went through this, it was almost like a depression, where I was like, what's the point of all of this? Like, why did I rush to get here? Like, why was I so eager to find this continuing position and buy this house? Because it's kind of boring now. And what that was, and I didn't know it at the time, was me telling myself in any way that I could that I hadn't actually arrived, and that this wasn't actually what I was supposed to be doing with my life. But it took me a long time to actually get to that point. But what I did do to get myself through it, because I had this pretty severe depression and a lot of things went seemingly terribly wrong in my life. And what would have, I think, crumbled and crushed me, I've listed it before. I can try to list it again. I broke up with my husband. I had actually married this person, which was also its own story. And I was selling my house, and I had like a stalker that was trying to break into my house at night and probably rape and kill me. Who knows? But was trying to get into my house at night. I had my car stolen 3 times. Like, I literally can't even remember the rest of the things, but there was just like all of these things happened all at once. And this was also at the time where I was like, I'm just like going to have this like house and teach at this place for the rest of my life. Like, and something in me knew, like, no, please don't do that. Like, please don't commit to this route. This is not what you're supposed to be here for. And so I developed this motto at that time, and the motto was, I'm not dead yet, right? Like, I don't have to stop now. I don't have to stop and imagine that this house, just because I bought it, is the only last place I'll ever live. I'm not dead yet. I can do anything, right? I don't have to imagine that because it's really, really hard actually to sell your house and move twice in a year while you're still teaching full time and dealing with divorce and getting sued by your husband and having this stalker that wants to kill you and having your car stolen and all those things. You're still not dead yet, right? All those things can fall apart and your whole life can be in tattered pieces and like shredded. And I also got accused of having sex with my students that year. That was awesome fun. That was really stressful too. And like my coworkers like turned on me and said it was weird. It was a bad time of life. Really, really dark. So I told myself, and I tell myself still, I'm not dead yet. Because it was so hard to get through it. And it was so depressing to have all these people sort of fall away and abandon me and like accuse me of things. And that's even aside from the school accusations. I had friends who were accusing me of like burning my life down and throwing my life away because they didn't understand why I was like, I actually don't want to be married to this person and I don't want to live in this house and I'm going to change things, which was really positive. It was hard to do in that chaotic time, but instead of them understanding those changes and transformations, they were like accusing me of, I don't know, being reckless, I guess. So I had that coming at me too. And again, it's like, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. And it was both a reminder that worse things could be happening, and that was to help me get through all of this, but it was also a reminder to myself that I could still do anything with my life. I think we get to like what I was like 33 or something. And I think we get to a point like that in our life and we think like we've got it all figured out and we're done. Like, I'm done with college and I'm done with like finding my spouse or whatever. And most of us have had kids at that point, although I didn't. And, we're like, we're settled, we're done. And it's like, well, now you're just dead then. Because you're stagnant and you think you're done. If you think you're done, what is the point of the rest of your life? Like, what were you doing here if that was all you needed to accomplish? So it was also a reminder, like, to keep going and to seek further what I was, supposed to be doing or wanted to do, or why shit wasn't feeling as fulfilling as I would have thought it should have at that time. So I'm not dead yet, right? So that's my motto now. And it's funny because I interviewed Freeman Fly a few years ago, and his motto was really, really similar. But it wasn't "I'm not dead yet," but it was something like "I'll die someday" or so. I don't know. It was very similar. I was like, interesting that we both came to the same motto, because I didn't like find it in a book somewhere. I just like came out of my head one day when I was like, well, fuck all of this bullshit, right? Like, fuck everything. I was like, no, you're not dead yet. You're not dead yet. So that's a little backstory about my ideas about not being dead yet. But I want to talk about death with you guys, and I want to talk about it because I think that it makes life really, really good. And I think we forget that. And I think it's really, really, I think it's actually like critically important to us to understand that aspect of being alive. It's just death. Right? It's actually really, really good. And I know everyone's really, really scared right now of death. And that's actually why I want to talk about it. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's fucking losing their mind. People are literally attacking their neighbors and each other over like toilet paper and whether or not we can go outside. And it's fucking, that's way more terrifying to me than any virus ever could be. That's more scary to me. But the reason that people are like that is because they're essentially afraid of death, right? I don't know. I've had people literally like begging. I've seen people begging other people to not go outside. And that's so sad. It's so, so sad. It's so sad for you to think that you can be in your house and you're safe. You decided to stay inside and you got all your toilet paper and you're good. And then you still need to go out and like somehow attack other people for going outside. I don't get it. You're not outside, so it doesn't affect you, you know? And people will say like, that it's going to affect other people somehow. And I'm like, well, if they're outside too, then yeah, maybe. But then we both made the choice to be outside. So like, it still doesn't affect you. It affects the people who chose to go outside. That's the only people it affects. Okay. So, people begging, like, please don't go outside. Please, you're hurting me and my family. And no, I'm not. I'm not hurting your family when I go outside and take a walk. And then they beg me to stay inside because if I don't stay inside, they will give us martial law. And that's a real thing that people have said to me in the last week. Begging me to stay inside because if I don't stay inside, then the government will give them martial law. That's what people are thinking now. So this is like an abusive, fucking crazy cycle. If you can say to yourself, it's like if you're in a house and there's this guy and he's abusing like all the people in the house and you say to another abuse victim, like, please don't make him angry or he's going to hit us. And it's like, well, that's true, but that doesn't mean that that's how we should behave. We should really we should fucking kick out the guy who's abusive. That's what we should do. Instead of like attacking each other over who made the abusive guy get angry, we should kick out the abusive guy. It's the same metaphor that applies here too. Instead of begging me to stay inside, you should ask your government why they think it's okay to impose martial law on you for someone taking their dog for a walk. That's fucking psychotic. That doesn't make sense. All right? We're not dead yet, so we can still change that. They don't have to give us martial law ever. They never have to do that. Even if people go outside, they still don't have to do that. And we could talk about that. That could be its whole own episode. And we should do an episode on martial law because it's very fascinating. But it's never going to be the people who went outside's fault if martial law is declared. That's never going to be true. Okay, so... And again, people are also telling me I have to stay inside because there's immunocompromised people in the world. I've had this same exact idea before I ever knew, this pandemic was going to occur. I've had this same idea for many, many years. And if you think I'm a callous, horrible bitch over it and abandon me and never talk to me again, then that's totally fine with me. That's your call. But I understand the basics of whether you believe it's a virus or not. I don't care. It's like terminology. It doesn't matter to me. It's still something that seems to be transmissible. And I understand the basics of that concept. And so I understand that if I were an immunocompromised person, I myself would not want to go out and risk interaction with, the populace at a time of pandemic. If I were an immunocompromised person, I would understand that keeping my own immune system as much as possible, buffed up is the best thing I can do, and reducing my risk is the best thing I can do. And outside of that, there's nothing I can do. And I would definitely understand that there's nothing anyone else can do either. That 100% of people in the world are carrying germs and viruses and bacteria, and anytime I'm interacting with them, I'm taking that risk that I might get something from them if we're not careful and we don't, cough away from each other into our sleeves, we don't wash our hands, and all the things that you can do to protect yourself. What I would never delude myself into thinking is that me having some condition would somehow then mean that other people had to change their lives for me. If I'm asking them to stay out of my house, that's perfectly within my rights. If I'm asking them to stay inside their house, that's not. That's no longer within my rights. It's not within anyone's rights. And I understand that it's scary to be immunocompromised. And I understand that it's scary to have people in your life that are immunocompromised. And I understand that death scares us. We're scared of death. That's the whole problem, actually, is that we're so scared of death that we're willing to do all of these fucking crazy, terrifying, way more terrifying than death things to prevent death, possibly. I was somewhat happy that, a few people said the opposite. A few people lately who are immunocompromised and have immunocompromised families, some of whom I'm not even that close with, have come out, as I'm saying these things in public and said, like, yeah, that's true. Like, I'm immunocompromised and you shouldn't stay in your house for me. I should stay in my house for me. And I'm like, thank you, thank God. Because I think people think it's this like uniform, just truth, this universal truth that 100% of people know that you should stay in your house because someone somewhere is immunocompromised. And it's not. It's an opinion. It's cool if you want to do it. I totally support you. That's rad. It's really, really irresponsible to pretend that people who don't want to are somehow lacking in compassion. They're not. They just understand reason. And reason says that if I go to the beach and an immunocompromised person is not there, I'm not putting them at risk. If I go to their house afterwards, then I am. So I won't. I'll stay far away from their houses. So that's... but this is how you get people to beg for martial law, and this is how you get people to beg for the satanic agenda that seems to be unfolding around the world, and to even enforce it themselves, is you scare the fuck out of them using this fear of death. It's a powerful tool. And it works so amazingly easy. I mean, look at us. We're all doing exactly what we're told, and we're all fearful, I even get scared sometimes. I'm like, well, fuck, what if I die? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking die. Everyone is. That's the magic of life. You are absolutely gonna die. But in the meantime, if you're terrified of it and you've never thought about it and made friends with it, then you're gonna let people pull over some pretty fucking sick shit on you because they're gonna use that fear against you because you never dealt with it. So that's an important reason to remember you're not dead yet. And so you can still do all kinds of things and you're a powerful being. And that you are going to die someday. And that's a great thing. That's what makes life life. That's why life is rad. That's why being alive is neat, is because it doesn't last forever. I know people disagree with that statement. That's cool. We could have that. That could be its whole own episode as well. But yeah, people who I'm relatively sure like actually do love me have literally threatened that they would wish they could jail me just because I said that I think we should go outside still. And I'm not exaggerating. I never said anything other than that. I said we should go outside still. And they said that I should be locked up. That's where we're at right now. Thank you so much, Philip, for the super chat. I love that. Thank you very much. I like the support. I'm going to say what's up to Allison Downey in the chat. Nice to see you here. And I think that's everyone who said hello today. Come say hello if you're on Facebook. Come jump into YouTube so I can see your comments. But yeah, that's where we're at right now, is that people who I've had a long-standing, multi-decade positive relationship with and who I think care for me have told me that I should be locked up. Not even told me, they have said that they hope that I'm locked up because I said we should go outside. I know they don't mean it. I know they wouldn't come and actually put me in handcuffs and put me in a cell somewhere for it. I know that. I know that they're actually just terrified. And so they're just spewing fear everywhere and reacting and I'm not always helping because I like to say what I think. So, but yeah, I'm not harming anyone by going outside. And like I said, I had some people who are immunocompromised in very severe ways agree. And that at least made me feel better. Like there are people in the world who are rational and can think through these things. But a lot of us are acting out of a place of emotion, especially the people who are calling for people to be locked up in their houses. Because fear is literally the mind killer. Fear goes to that, reptilian brain, which is below your, conscious level of thought, and it kills your mind. You can no longer think straight because you're terrified. That's what it does. It's not just a saying in a Dune book. It really is the mind killer. Fear just absolves you of all ability to be rational and to think clearly. And then it's gone. It's lost until you can get past the fear again. What's up, Tori? It's awesome to see you here. You guys should check out Tori's shop. She makes really, really awesome bracelets, and she's having a sale right now. And Tori, if you want to share the link, that would be rad. And they're infused with all kinds of good energy and juju. They're rad. But yeah, the fear has come, and it's infected most people, and it has turned off people's brains for the most part. Most people are no longer thinking rationally. And they're going to start believing really irrational things as true. And we're always assaulted with these, lies, misdirections, misunderstandings. But like whether you want to think the media just sort of gets it wrong sometimes and then has to apologize, whether they're doing it on purpose is your own game. But, we're always assaulted with this thing where we have to sort of parse through things and think through them and decide like, well, is this true or is this not? Or how much evidence do I actually have? But right now, we're being assaulted with so much more than normal, and our minds are shut off for the most part. And that's a scary combo as well. They have all of these, like the bill they just passed, the stimulus bill, and the shit that they put into that. It's exactly like 9/11. They're just like, panic, panic, panic. And then they like ship all this shit into this bill and then pass it. And everyone's like, yay, they passed a bill. I feel better because something's going to be done about it. And in the end, it's not going to affect the virus at all. If there's a virus and it's killing people, that bill doesn't do shit, but it makes people feel better. And so they let everyone get away with all kinds of shit because we stopped thinking clearly. We just stop questioning things. And then we start following orders because we're terrified of death. We're terrified of death, so we let psychopathic, abusive motherfuckers pass a bunch of bills with a bunch of bullshit in it and tell us what to do. And instead of telling them, no, you can't actually do this to me, instead we say, please, please stop doing the thing because the government is going to do more of the things. It's like, you got looking at the wrong target. You're looking at the wrong enemy. I'm not your enemy. In fact, I'm one of the few people who's trying to help you. Not a few. There's actually a lot of us. We're everywhere. And why are you doing all this? Why are you stopping your critical thinking? Why are you not questioning things? Why are you just following orders mindlessly? You're doing it because you're scared to die. You're scared of the chance that maybe you might get infected with something. And if you do, you might die. Even that, like, this is actually a tiny thing. It's a tiny chance. You go out, you get in your car every day and you drive and hurtle yourself down the freeway at like 70 miles an hour and you put yourself at risk every fucking day of just instant death and you never think about it, right? You could at any moment just have an aneurysm. It happened to my friend like 2 years ago and you just fucking fall over and you could live, but you could die. You could die any minute. Your heart could just stop and you could just die. That could happen to you at any second. I'm not saying this to terrify you. I'm saying this to remind you, you live with death. Death is like an intimate part of every moment of your life. You just ignored it. And by ignoring it, you made it a tool that someone else can use against you and control the fuck out of you and turn your brain off and tell you what to do. And you do it because you stopped remembering that death is a part of you. You're going to die. Without a doubt. Nothing can stop it. You're gonna die. And if you haven't made peace with that yet, you're fucked. This is why you're controllable. Because you yourself have denied this and pushed it away, but it's still there and you know it. And that subconscious knowing is like beckoning at you. And that's a tool to be used against you. Right? So if that scares you that you're going to die, you have work to do. I'm like not sugarcoating shit. Like you have work to do if you're scared of dying. You have to do it now because it's being used against you now, and it's going to be used against you forever because it's the easiest tool. You know, they know that we're scared of not being part of the group, and they use that against us. And they know that we're scared of like, you know, not being loved enough or having enough like self whatever, and they use that against us. And they know we're scared of like whatever, not being good enough. They use it against us, and they know we're scared of death, and they really use that against us. So you have responsibility for that. You have to take care of that as your job. It's not their job to not use it against you. That'd be cool, but you can't hold a satanic fucking pedophilic bullshit like over class to task for that. You have to do it yourself. You have to take that tool away from them. And you can. That's within your power. How empowering. You have something you can do. You can take that tool away from them. I'm going to say, what's up, Christy Perez? What's up, Allison? I think I said hi to Allison. But hi again, Allison. And Steve. What's up, Steve? It's good to see you. And Arwen. What's up, Arwen? I think I said hi to everybody else. So hi. So yeah. Like Andrew is saying in the chat, being born is terminal. My grandma likes to say, like, none of us is getting out of here alive. And it's the goddamn truth. A friend of mine the other day, awesome guy, super cool. He said, if you are a Christian and you're still scared of death, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, that's true, right? Because Christians are like, the afterlife is a real thing, and I'm going to go there, and it's going to be great and glad. So, like, why would you be scared of that? So if you're scared of death and you're a Christian, you're doing it wrong. I was like, word. And I was like, but if you're any religion, or even if you're not, actually, you're doing it wrong, because because we shouldn't be as scared of death. And that's actually part of what prompted me to do this. It all always just comes together and accumulates in a wild mass of synchronicities. But anybody who's afraid of death is doing it wrong. We're doing it wrong. You know, we used to have like a culture that had more connection with death, and I've talked about this before. Like, we used to have the body of our dead one would be like in our house usually, you know, 'cause the doctor would come to you. There was no hospital. And it would lay there, and, you know, people would come visit for the wake, and we'd say goodbye to them, and then we'd like have open casket type things or whatever. And like, you'd see the body and you'd know that this was death. And I think that's a powerful part of life too, that we've robbed ourselves of. It's like maybe intentional that we don't have death in our lives anymore, and we're allowed to live imagining that death doesn't exist, or that it's somehow far from us, or I don't know, that it's not an intimate part of life. It's an intimate part of life. It is every moment of every day. Death is just sitting there, you know. It's the flip side. It's like the negative to the positive, or however you want to look at it. It's not a bad thing. If no one ever died, it'd be fucked up. I would hate it. I would hate to live forever. I hate it when people close to me die. It's the hardest thing ever. It's not fun or easy at all. It's probably one of the most difficult parts of life. But it also has taught me a lot, right? Like that actually was never the end at all. Not just because of some like, oh, I feel like maybe I'm like a happy, like, let's just imagine they're somewhere nice. Like, no, I've had like actual experiences with them after they die. And that's only possible if they still exist. So I know that they still exist. So I know death is just a transition. It's just a transforming point, you know? And I always say, like, I'm still going to run from the lion. I'm not saying that we should like rush into death and like, you know, on purpose, like kill ourselves, by no means. And I know a lot of people are feeling like heavy right now and feeling that urge to maybe die, and maybe that's easier. And I have a very strong message to you that you're very wanted here and very crucial here and very necessary on earth. And you came here for a reason, and please don't deprive us of having you here with us. That's not in any way what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you should be excited to die or run towards death. I'm saying that you should know death, and you should know it as a part of yourself and as a part of life, and you should know it as an inevitability, because that gives you strength and power. And so if you've made it to this point in your life and you've never had a moment where you sat and sort of held your own death in your hands and like looked it in its eyes and hugged it, then you're doing it wrong. You're doing yourself a major disservice. And you're giving, again, that tool of manipulation to anybody, not just the government or whoever, like whatever's going on, who knows? We don't even need to know, but we know that we're being terrified and terrorized by this like constant input of how we're going to possibly die about the COVID or whatever. That's a powerful weapon and anyone can use it, right? An attacker can use it. Like your abusive boyfriend can use it. Your abusive government can use it. Corporations can use it against you and like advertising and all kinds of stuff. So this is a powerful tool that you're giving away by not doing it. By not sitting and become very intimately connected and close to your own death. And that tool, it's like you made it for them, really. It's not just like, oh, how mean of them that they came to be abusive. That's also sucks. But you made them a tool. You forged it. You created it and then you forged it in your own ignorance, right? In your own denial of the reality. You sharpened it. Like you did this and then you handed it to them. And you were like, here, please cut me down with this fear that I have. Every moment of your life that you have spent desperately holding on to life, you're sharpening it even more. So don't do that. Stop crafting swords for your enemies. Stop handing them tools and weapons to cut you up with. You don't want to get cut up. You want to be whole. You want to keep your weapons to yourself. Make a different kind of weapon. Make the weapon so sharp in your appreciation of death. Think about how much better life is when you know you're going to die. If you're like, fuck, I'm going to die. There's all these movies and shit. Like we know it. We're like, fuck, we're going to die. We have a month left to live. What are we going to do? We're going to go like conquer. We're going to climb the mountain. Go and jump out of the plane and do the hot air balloon and ask the girl to marry us or whatever the fuck these movies. I've never actually watched any of them. But you know what I'm talking about. There's a reason for that. And then they almost always find out they're not actually going to die, right? But that's the point of it, is it's reminding you that knowing that death is coming actually reminds you to live and be alive in the moment, because it's all you have. If you know you're going to die, then you know that all you have is right here, right now. It's never going to change. It's never going to be different. Even in the moment of death, you're still going to have right then, right there. You're still going to be you. And you're still going to continue. And even if you don't believe that, I know it for myself. I don't have to believe it. But even if you don't believe it or you haven't understood it yet or known it yet, you can still embrace death and know, because you still know it's going to happen. And you still know that 100% of humans have died before you. Billions and trillions, who knows, uncountable trillions of people have died already. They did it. We can do it. They did it. They're there, probably, waiting for us. However you want to think of that. They've done it before. You've probably done it before. Again, whether you believe in that or not, I have experiences that show me that we have more than one life. And so I've already done it before. I've already done it, and then I still came back for more. So it's clearly not that bad anyway. And still you shouldn't rush towards it. And still I want you to stay for as long as possible and be here with us in life, enjoying it, knowing that right here, right now is what you have, and that it's the best gift and so great to be alive for as long as you have it. Right? And it's the like eternal moment of now. Like you actually have it forever. But you have it more so, the more strongly you sort of sink into that moment and know what it is to be alive, because you're going to die. Fear is the virus, Allison. That's exactly right. Fear is the virus. It's not the virus itself that's going to destroy everything. It's the fear that, again, nobody would be able to cut you with if you take that sword back and you make friends with your own death. I know there's people out there right now hearing this going like, how the fuck do I make friends with death? I'm terrified of it. This is how you do it. You go stand in front of a mirror right now and you go look yourself in the eyes and you say, I'm going to die. I am. And you just keep looking at yourself knowing someday you'll be dead. Just sit there with it. It might be heavy. It might be really heavy. You might cry. I cried. I would cry. I'm looking at myself right now actually saying it, so it's funny. This is like the mirror of the computer is in front of me. When I make eye contact with you, I'm actually making eye contact with myself. What a weird metaphor. But do it. Seriously, do it. Don't just like sit here and listen to me talk about it. Like, go do it right now. Go do it. Go stare in the mirror at yourself and think about the fact that you're going to be dead. But also then do this. Think about all the people you've known who have died. I'm sure you know some. Some of us more than others, but like, I'm sure you know some. At the very least, you can think of like, wow, all my fucking forefathers and foremothers are dead. They're all dead. They all did it before me. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna die and it's gonna be okay. No matter what you think happens after that point. I don't know. And if it's like overwhelming, like go out and sit in the grass and let it out into the ground again. It's like the eternal sink. You can put anything into it and it wants it. And feeding the earth. She loves it. She doesn't mind at all. And then that's it. You're done there, right? But you can also sit there at the same time and do this other truth, which is just as good. In fact, probably better, especially for those of us who are parents or feel a responsibility to other humans. You can also sit with the truth and say, everything I love is going to die. Everyone I love is going to die. Possibly before me, possibly after me. Either way, I'll probably experience it in some way, because even if I've already passed, I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back for the moment of my most loved one's deaths. And even things, objects, all the shit you have, it's all going to die. It's all going to crumble to dust and be gone. It's a great truth. It would be so fucked up if everything that had ever been created was still here. But what a tumult of chaos that would be. No, that's not how shit works. There's a cycle. Everything comes about and it like comes to its peak and it's like, woo, this is great. And then it starts to degrade and then it dies. And then it comes back again. And then it dies. It's okay. This is the cycles. We see it our whole life. We see it in the seasons. We see it in the sun coming and going down. We see it in all things. All of nature shows us this truth that we're going to die and everything that we love is going to die. Everything that we've ever touched is going to crumble to dust and be gone someday. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. Life would suck without that. We wouldn't have this ability to enjoy what this is right here, right now, if it weren't temporary and impermanent. That's what makes it beautiful. It's a good thing. I don't worship death. I don't want you to worship death. I don't want anyone to run towards death, just gleefully like jump off a building. I don't want that. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying and pretend that I think that things like should die quicker or whatever. I think there's a time and a place for it. There's a cycle to it. There's a balance to it, and that it's a beautiful thing, and that the best thing we can do is know it and understand it and be friends with it intimately, remind ourselves of it constantly so that we can never create that sword out of our denial that it exists and our belief that we're going to go on forever, or our delusion that somehow this is all going to last. None of it's going to last. 0 parts of it are going to last. There's one part of you that lasts, and it's your soul. It's the only thing that moves on and that lives on. It's the only thing in all of existence that keeps going forever and doesn't get destroyed, and it's your soul. And you already have it, and it's already you. So you already do that. You don't even have to worry about that. What a beautiful thing, right? You don't have to be scared. You can just let that shit go. Go let it go. Go put it in the ground. Don't just think about it. Like, go do it. The act of doing it is going to be the thing that really cements it. So it's already done, right? It's already done. It's good. So this is your power. Your power is that you can be friends with death. And you can be like, we're at death. You and I, we've actually always been together. Ever since I was born, I was destined to die. And that is the only truth that I know for sure, besides that I have a soul that lasts forever, is that thing. And so we're good. We're buddies. We're here. I'm waiting. I'm ready for you. You're ready for me. Someday we'll meet and I'll die and I'll be good. And then thank God that you had death to take you out of life, because you wouldn't want shit to last forever. It's a beautiful thing. That's our old friend death. And also, this is an amazing thing that happens when we become friends with this fact, and we are like, wow, I don't actually have to stress about anything because I just am going to die someday, and I don't have to worry about when or where or how because it's just going to happen no matter what I do. So I can just let that shit go, just know that it's going to happen, and then move on. But not too quickly. You got to sit with it for a little while. But yeah, you can also then release this fear that we have of the unknown. Right? That it's unknowable. It's unknowable when we're going to die. That's cool. That's a good thing. I don't want to know. My life would be weird if I knew. I don't know if I'd do any of the things I'm doing if I knew. You know, like if I knew I was going to die tomorrow, would I be doing this live stream? Actually, I probably would. But you know what I mean? Like it would change things and maybe not for the best. I'm glad that there's some mystery and I'm glad there's things that are unknown. And that also makes life fun and worth living. And it's weird that we're afraid of the unknown. I get it. I'm afraid if there's like a dark room or whatever that I've never been in, there's no light in there. Like I don't want to walk in there. There's a monster in there. But really the monster is just our mind of our fear, right? And we all know this. We all know this. All of you listening are either running deeper into your fear or you're saying, yeah, that's true. I know this. I've always known this. Of course, we want to continue living and loving all the people and all the things that we love. That's awesome. Yes, we should. We should love that and we should want that and we should keep going as long as we can. And that's a beautiful thing as well. They're both sides are beautiful. Living and loving and dying. It's all beautiful. And yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if everyone could just know and have experiences that show them that there's shit after this. After you die, there's more shit. It's not shit, but you know what I mean? It doesn't end. It'd be cool if everyone could have experiences so they just know that their soul is a real thing and that it never could ever die no matter what would happen. It'd be rad. It would solve like so many problems in the world, I think. And I don't know why. I don't know why not everyone can know that, but I hope that my conviction about it might sort of infect you with the thought that it could be true at the very least. But yeah, I mean, our flesh falls to dust. It goes back to the earth. That's good. Earth gave it to us. It should go back to her. You know, and our spirit and our consciousness, our soul, whatever you want to call that, it goes back to somewhere too. So there's this other random thing that I think is very intimately connected with this idea, and part of why it's so important for me to talk about death and its inevitability and how beautiful that is and how it enhances life and reminds you to live because you're not dead yet, right? That's the motto. If you want to use it, take it. It's yours. You're not dead yet. Keep reminding yourself you're not dead yet. Anytime you feel fear, just say, I'm not dead yet. Why am I fucking sitting here fearing what may or may not come? I don't know. I'm not dead yet. I'm going to do shit instead. I'm going to go garden, or I'm going to create shit, or I'm going to talk to my friends and family, or I'm going to fucking dance and sing, or whatever the fuck you want to do. Go outside in the sunshine. Don't let motherfuckers tell you not to. But there's another thing. There's this thing that's prophesied all over the world. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to say what's up to people. I love this. Steve says, in the timeless realm, you never worry about being late. You're always on time. Please tell us about your past experiences. How do you know this? Oh, there's so many. There's so many, really. I've gathered them over the years. One way I know that people live on is, and I'm very wary about this subject because I'm aware that there's also entities that can mimic people and deceive, and so you have to be wary of that. But what's up, Vass80? Just so you know, I'm not talking to myself. There's people over on YouTube who I'm interacting with. But one thing that the first thing probably that ever happened to me that let me know that that people live on is my dad actually died when I was pretty young. I was 11 years old, and it was tragic and horribly sad. And I had this very strange experience where it was probably like 5 or 6 months after he died, and I was walking through a field by myself. And I don't remember exactly what my thoughts were or what, but something about it was very synchronistic. I know that much. Like I know I was like thinking about whether or not He was still, like, people still existed after death or something like that. And a wind came up. And stopped next to me, which I can't even really explain because it's never happened since and it's never happened before. And it's a strange experience in itself to have wind, like, be in a shape almost. Like, it came up, it stopped next to me, and it grabbed my hand. And wind can't do that. So that wasn't wind that did that. And I knew right then, I was like, I think that's my dad, actually. And then I was like, oh, fuck. And I ran, like, for like a mile because I was scared, because it's terrifying, actually. This is why I always say to people are like, I wish I had like this or that experience. And I'm like, meh. Like, the vast majority of them are actually pretty terrifying, these experiences that people want, like with, you know, other lives or past lives or entities or whatever. Like, they're all pretty terrifying. So it was scary, actually. But it was also good. Once I got over my fear and got back to my rational mind, I was like, oh my God, my dad came like from wherever to like show me, like, I'm dead, but like, I'm not gone. I'm still here. And what a beautiful thing. And I felt bad for running away, but I was a kid. I was like 12 years old. So it was pretty scary. I mean, even if it happened now, it'd be like pretty unsettling. I think there's a good reason why we don't all interact with dead people all the time. I could be wrong. And I know that all of the skeptics, which you should be skeptic, will say like, oh, you're grieving and this was like your mind's way of feeling better. And I get all of that, and that's not what happened, but I don't expect anyone to believe it. I know it because I experienced it. And so I know what I experienced, and that's all there is to that. I don't need anyone else to believe it or understand it or think that it's real or whatever. They can think whatever makes them feel happy. Then there was another one too with my dad that, you know, it was like probably like 6 years later. And at that time I was doing a lot of drugs, but on this particular day I was not doing drugs. But in general, I was sort of just not in touch with dates or like significant things like this, you know. So I didn't even know that it was the day that my dad had died that many years earlier. I was not aware of that day. And I had this weird experience, and I was like, it was weird. I didn't know what it was. And I went back to my house, and I have a brother and a sister, and they both were there, which we weren't even all necessarily usually there at the same time. So that was in itself kind of weird. But one of us said something like, oh my God, the weirdest thing happened today. Like, I can't explain it. And then it was, I don't remember the story, but it was something. And then like my other sibling was like, dude, I also had a weird ass thing happen and I can't explain it. And then I was like, dude, I also had a weird ass thing happen and I can't explain it. And we were all like, what the fuck is happening? This is so weird. And then one of us was like, oh my God, this is the day that Dad died, however many years ago. And so then we all were like, well, that's clearly what it was then. Like, he was poking us. He was like, yo, hey guys, I'm still here. I'm still watching you. So yeah, I definitely have had more experiences than that even, but those are my two favorites that showed me that death is just a transitional state, and whatever your consciousness or soul is still existing. And I'm very grateful that I was able to have those experiences so that I could know that, and so that I know that my dad's still around, because that's pretty cool too. But let's see who's around now. Diversity says, welcome to Earth School 101. We all planned our trip to this plane of existence. If you don't complete the lessons or mission in this life, you'll get another chance in the next. And actually, this is part of why I highly get very, very sad if someone does commit suicide. Because I feel like you are just ensuring that you will then go right back to that same level of dissatisfaction and, you know, despair and disgust with the world or whatever it is that's pushing you away, and have to go through it again anyway. But I think that also, like Diversity is saying, is that you're here for a reason. And so I really get sad for that too, because you're depriving the whole world for that reason that you came. But most importantly, you're depriving yourself. There's something you're here for, and you're not done yet, or else you'd die. That's my idea about it. The party is not on you. Is on YouTube, not Facebook. Yes, I always say it, but I never know who's listening at the time. If you're on Facebook, I cannot read your comments. You have to go to YouTube, and then I can't. Or DLive. Either one, just Facebook comments don't relay to the interface I use. Have I tried the spirit molecule? No, not yet. I actually went to, and my life led me away from doing it, so I took that as a sign not to do it. So if I ever am in a position where my life is leading me to do it, I'll do it, and if not, not. I don't like to arrange things like that. I think they either happen or don't happen when they're supposed to. Oh, Arwen has seen a ghost of his mother, of her or his, I don't know, sorry, Arwen, of Arwen's mother when she had died. That's beautiful. How lucky. I feel like it's lucky, honestly. Like, it was scary, but it was also very lucky. And I wish that everyone could have, you know what I really believe? I really believe that everyone does have those experiences, but I think a lot of us are so just like dense and just cut off from the world around us that like they're not getting through. You're like not noticing them. Like something could be like put right in front of you and you just like don't see it because you're so probably in your head with fear or whatever it is. Like, you know, not realizing that you're not dead yet and you should probably live a little bit while you're here. I think that I don't think anyone just kind of disappears and abandons us. I think that they come in dreams. I think that they come by moving shit around. I think that they'll like find that one object that they used to like be special between you two, but you lost a long time ago and suddenly put it on the fucking bed or whatever. Like some people even say they'll get telephone calls and it sounds like they're really far away. And that's never happened to me, but I mean, that's a possibility. Like I think there's a lot of ways that people, after they pass, try to reconnect with us and just at least remind us that like, you don't have to be that sad. I'm still here. Because I think it sucks for them to see us all horrifyingly sad for so long. And it is sad. I'm not saying don't feel sad. I'm just saying I think we'd feel less sad if we knew for sure they were still there. And, it'd be easier for us to sort of keep living, continue on, let that be a part of the past, knowing that they're still part of our lives somehow and always will be. But yeah. Tori says, it's interesting how much of it is inherited from your parents at an early age and how much you build up false ideals throughout adolescence. Absolutely. It's really hard when your parents and schooling and everything else is indoctrinating you and you don't really like know to question it or to think outside of it. I always talk about where I think we're literally trained out of seeing auras and things because every baby sees it. You can see every baby seeing an aura. Any baby you ever meet, you can watch them look at auras before they look at faces. And then by the time we're like 8, all of a sudden no one can see shit. So I think we're like trained to think of that as unimportant information to ignore. And it's probably the same with connecting with our, dead relatives or whatever. There's probably a lot of information coming at us that we have just turned off or has been otherwise turned off from us. Have you experienced a spirit molecule either inhaled or no, I haven't. Sorry, I already said that. Yeah. Don't commit suicide. I mean, I can't control you, but I hope you don't. And I hope if you ever are listening to this and you feel like you want to, you reach out to me or someone else and say, hey, I'm really sick of life. I hate this place. And then maybe we can help you feel a little bit better and get back to that point. I've been suicidal before. I've almost killed myself twice. One time I was really, really serious and just miracle stopped me from doing it. So I'm very grateful for that. Very, very grateful for that. So I know how you could possibly be feeling if you are feeling like that. I've also been there and not wanted to continue living and not felt like there was a point to it. And I have learned since then that there's definitely a point to it. And I'm very, very glad I made it through that. It is, like they say, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. No matter what it is, it actually is temporary. That's the one thing, right? That relates back to the whole theme of this. The one thing we know is that change is inevitable. Everything is temporary, 100% of it, including you and everything you love. And that is the point. So you just wait long enough and connect with enough people enough, then you can get through anything. It's true, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so back to the prophecy thing. There's all these prophecies all over the place in ancient texts and everywhere in the Bible and all sorts of places. And it says that there will be 3 days of darkness. And I've always been fascinated by this idea of 3 days of darkness. How could the sun turn off for 3 days? And some people think like, oh, there's a mysterious, other object in space, like some other planet or something, and it's going to come in or whatever. And that could be. But I also finally at one point realized that a day is also described in various texts, in those same texts that have this 3 days of darkness. At various times, a day could be a way to describe a year. And so then I thought, wow, what if it's actually talking about 3 years of darkness instead of 3 days of darkness? And then, the idea is that the darkness wouldn't be the sun gone or the sun turned off or whatever. It would be 3 years of darkness, as in 3 years where it's pretty hard to be a soul in the world that's not living in terror and devoid of hope. That would be a pretty dark time. So then I thought, maybe it's that darkness. Maybe it's a metaphor. Maybe it's not literal darkness. Maybe there's a time that's going to come that is a really horrifying time to be alive, and that it's really, really dark out there. And this would be a time for us to live even harder and to know death even more, to keep ourselves even brighter in those moments, if that is what is happening. That darkness could be some sort of ultimate agenda, for example, like seems to be coming together with Agenda 2021 and Agenda 2030 and, these plans that are coming along with this virus that are way scarier to me than the virus, which is that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is teaming up with Amazon to make sure that every single house will have a test kit. Oh, yay! We're going to test ourselves for COVID, whatever the fuck. And I can just imagine the shit that they're going to pull for that. Like, well, then you need to, if you tested this way, then you need to do that. And if you refuse to test, what then? Oh, the horrors. Right? I don't know what darknesses they have in store for us, but they always seem to be pretty fucking horrifying. And it seems like a lot of them could possibly be on the horizon now with all of this fear that they've instilled and are using to their advantage. One of those things that they've been hinting at for a while and has definitely come around in this craze of corona craze is the vaccine for corona. And this vaccine is conveniently skipped animal testing, and it's conveniently tested on like one woman in Seattle, which is random as fucking weird and stupid. It's stupid of her if it's real, and it's probably not real, which makes it even scarier because then it's got no testing. And it's the first vaccine, allegedly, that is going to use the functioning RNA of the virus in a sort of live vaccine. I don't know how that's different from what they've been doing. I just read an article that's not conspiracy based at all. It's a scientific article, but it was talking about this is the first version, the first vaccine that will ever use this technology. So convenient that the first vaccine that's ever going to use this technology is going to not have animal testing and likely not have human testing. And then they keep telling us it's going to be around in about 18 months. So next year, in time for, the corona's resurgence or whatever might happen, they're going to conveniently have this vaccine. And despite that vaccine's efficacy has never been proven in any statistically significant way with a placebo, which is what every other drug has had to do, and despite that there's lots of questions about whether or not any vaccine has ever helped any virus or illness ever die, in fact, and people always love to bring up polio, and they love to bring up fucking measles and shit, and all this shit, and all of them have really, really good counter evidence that actually it was something else that made that disease die. So it's very fascinating to look into this stuff. And then it's even more interesting to see that vaccines definitely cause harm, that even the CDC says that they're unavoidably unsafe, is a direct quote from them. Even the CDC has had to admit, the way they say it is vaccines don't cause autism, but the vaccines cause a response that causes autism. How's that for some fancy fucking lies for you? And people still are like, it's been debunked and it doesn't cause it. Like the CDC itself says, vaccines cause a response that causes autism. So however you want to think about that, it's totally cool. But I'm going to never recognize what that means, which is that vaccines cause autism. They also cause death. None of this is disputed. This is not even disputed. We know that they cause death. We know that they cause disfigurement. We know that they fucking maim people. We know that they destroy people's minds. We know that without a doubt. And they're going to roll in with this vaccine. And it's probably going to be mandatory. And I didn't even mean to go off on all of that. I just see that that's all coming as a response to our fear, which we have given them as a tool to use against us because we're so terrified of death. And there are things that are worse than death. And one of them is living in a fucking society where you think it's okay to force anything into someone else's body. That's fucked up. If you think that, there's something wrong with you. There's something really wrong with you. And you can fucking dress it up all you want. And you can say, oh, but if you won't do this, you're endangering. I'm not fucking endangering anyone but my fucking self. If you think that you can get vaccinated and be safe from it, then you're safe from it. So fuck off with your bullshit. Like, that's all you. You're done now. If I don't want to take it, the only person who's at risk is me, supposedly. Let me be at risk. It's my fucking choice. You definitely should not ever be able to force anything in someone else's body. And if you think that you can force something in someone else's body, then you also think that we can fucking force microchips into people's bodies, and we can force fucking trackers into people's bodies, and we can force neural networks that fucking AI have already said that they want to use to enslave humanity with. That's what you think. You think that we should be able to force that into people if you think that we should be able to forcefully vaccinate people. It's bullshit. It's a bullshit fucking thing, and it's all based on fear. It's all based on a fear that someone somewhere might die. That's a really tiny fucking thing to happen. Yeah, someone somewhere might die. Why would that ever mean that you should fucking inject me with any shit? Why would that ever mean that I shouldn't be able to go to the fucking beach? They're gonna die. They're absolutely gonna die. We know that. Why are we fucking freaking out about it? We know for sure they're gonna die. Should we try to avoid death? Yeah. Should we do things that actually make sense for our health? Fuck yeah. We should take vitamin D and NAC. We should fucking go in the sun. We should exercise. We should eat good food. We should do all that shit. We should avoid death. We should wear seatbelts and whatever the fuck. But we should never, ever think it's cool to lock people up for fucking not wanting to stay in their house for 2 months straight and wanting to go to the fucking beach. Or that we should lock people up for not having an injection of shit that we know for sure kills people. That's fucked up. It's fucked up. Oh my God. I go insane about this fucking argument. It's not my responsibility to keep other people safe or from dying. Although I'll do my best because I love people and I'm a compassionate person, but I'll never inject your bullshit into my fucking body. The end of that story. Anyway, the darkness I was talking about is what I just described, I think. I think it's coming. I think it's maybe here. It's a pretty darkness, and there's only really one good way to shine in that demonic, fucking satanic bullshit that they've got festering within our minds because we fucking shut down and we let them use the fear sword that we made for them on us. The only way to shine during that time is to be intimately close with your death and the fact that it's going to happen. And that everything that you love is going to die. Because if you're in that place already and you know that already, no one can fucking scare you with death. And you will stand up for the shit that you believe in. And you'll have faith in yourself and in your fellow fucking people who also won't bend over. That you can hold on to something that actually fucking matters, which is in your soul. It matters in your soul whether or not you imprison your neighbors or not. It matters in your soul whether or not you force toxins into other people's bodies or not. That matters in your soul. That's your faith that you have, that you know that shit matters actually. That even though everything is gonna fucking end, there's some shit that fucking matters in life. And that it matters way fucking more than how many fucking people went to the fucking beach or not. It matters way more than any of this bullshit. And it's how you act right now and what you do in a time of darkness. If there's 3 days of darkness, there's one task that I heard from myself and weird ass synchronicities that happened to me way back in the day. There's one task in the 3 days of darkness, and it is to keep the light alive. Because that's all that darkness fears is the light. And who can keep the light alive? You can. And who can't keep the light alive? People who are fucking terrified of death. Your job is actually to become intimately close with your own death and the loss of everything around you so that you know is going to happen so that you can keep the light alive because there's something that matters more than that. And there's something that outlasts that, and that is what matters more than that, and that you are the person who can keep that alive in a time of darkness, and that it is desperately important that you do it. Desperately important. I deputize you right now. This is your job now, is to go get over Get intimate with it. Don't get over it. Don't avoid it anymore. Get close with your death and all the things that are going to pass, which is everything. And remember what lasts and hold it and fucking show it to people and remind people, because people are sure as fuck forgetting that right now. Like, literally people who love me have threatened to put me in a fucking cage because I want to go outside and walk a fucking dog. It's insanity. We have to keep the light alive through this time, because people are going to have a harder and harder time keeping it alive inside themselves. And your job is to remember and to remind them of that light, right? Like, when they see it, then they remember too. And they're like, oh yeah, there's something fucking way more important than this shit. You know? And if someone ever comes to your door with a test kit or a fucking vaccine, then you can remind them. You can show them that light and be like, remember that you're a fucking soul and that you're not this stupid fucking scared ass shitty body that you're connected to. Like, Jesus, fuck. I get really angry sometimes. Take a little pause. Say hello to people in the chat. Oh my God. And for like the billionth time, I have this thing that I now just have copied, and I just paste it on anyone who brings up anything with coronavirus. I'm just like, Event 201 is very interesting. Bill and Melinda Gates organized this thing, and they like simulated a worldwide pandemic with coronavirus as the culprit. And then as soon as they were done, it fucking happened in real life. Wow. What a coincidence. Like, Bill and Melinda Gates are the people who are going to send you the test. Bill and Melinda Gates are the people who have made the fucking vaccine. It's not a fucking coincidence. I know you all know this. I know I'm like screeching at the choir. But yeah, I do not consent either. I rescind any consensual agreement that they think that I gave them in the past. It doesn't exist. Yeah, it's really weird. Diversity points out the indoctrinated really believe that somehow the vaccine will not protect them from the unvaccinated. Somehow they can get a vaccine. It doesn't even make sense. It's so retarded. They can get a vaccine that protects them from the disease, but somehow if you're unvaccinated, you're a threat to them. How? You're supposedly protected from the disease. You're fine, right? And the only other thing that could even possibly make sense is that herd immunity idea. And again, that idea, if you didn't know, that idea completely connects to the whole immunosuppressed population thing, that you should do something because of the immunocompromised population, that you should inject yourself with a known toxin that we know for sure the side effect is death. One of them, you could die from it. You should take that risk so that someone somewhere else might not die. That's what you should do. That doesn't make sense. They'll go blue in the fucking face telling you how much it makes sense, but it makes no sense. And then they'll call you selfish, and then they'll tell you that you have no compassion because you won't inject yourself with poison for a stranger that you've never met who might be affected by it if you don't. That doesn't make sense. It's fucking retarded. And I say retarded in like the actual sense of the word, like something has stopped working in you. You have retarded yourself. It no longer functions. That's what I mean when I say retarded. Yes, even the vax inserts themselves will tell you that side effects include death and all kinds of other bullshit. And then they'll tell you, but it's only a small percentage of people. Well, like, that's still a fucking percentage of people. That small percentage of people is enough for us to shut down the whole fucking world with fucking coronavirus bullshit. But it's not enough for me to be concerned about injecting the shit into me. What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, the Crocus vaccine celebration. Hi, Benjamin. I don't know what that is, but I have seen so many crocuses coming up, and it's so cool. Spring really is here. It really is a nice time. This is the other thing I'm worried about, is that we're all going to be like so bogged down by all this fear that we forget that like this is the best time of the year. It's spring. Everything's coming back to life. We gotta like take that energy and celebrate it and like propel it out in every way we can, and like love the sun and love the flowers that are coming and like plant shit and just like don't let them destroy this time in your life because of a fear that you gave them the sword for. Take the sword back. At all costs, be aware of stupid people in groups. Seriously, it's scary on Facebook right now. Oh, yes. And then, of course, they're rolling in there. This is how you know it's not about a virus. They're fucking, all their bills that they're passing and shit right now, they all have to do with like cashless society and making everybody have a digital wallet by next year. And like, why do I need a fucking digital wallet? Because they're going to go to their digital currency and whatever. You can like digital currency or not, I don't care. But isn't it interesting that they're using this as a way to usher it in without any fucking conversation? And by the way, while I'm angry and bitching, I'm so sick of Skynet. So many people are posting shit about Skynet. Oh, I call it Skynet. Sorry. About, shit. Now I don't remember the real name. Starlink. So many people are posting pictures of Starlink not knowing what it is. And I'm like, how, this should like point out to us how fucked up Starlink is. Who asked us if they could fucking just pollute the skies with all this bullshit satellites and then beam 5G out down at our fucking heads constantly? Nobody asked me. That's a worldwide thing that you're doing that has effect on every human and no one even knows what it is. So no one was obviously asked, or else they'd know what the fuck it was and wouldn't be posting pictures like scared, which I'd be too if I looked up and didn't know what it was and just saw like a string of 20 fucking lines and just following each other in a line across the night sky. Like, yeah, that would notice that. I would ask questions about it. They didn't ask anybody what they fucking thought about it. They just think that they own the sky. Elon Musk thinks he owns your night sky. He also thinks he owns your fucking ability to, like, not be radiated or whatever. Deep breaths. So, yeah. I was told that my job was to keep the light alive during the 3 days of darkness, and I aim to do that job, and I deputize you to do that job alongside of me. And I think the best way to start doing that job is to remember that you're not a body, and that this body will die. See, this is the actual truth. I keep saying you're going to die. You're not dead yet. You're going to die. But the truth is you never die. This body is going to die. The body's going to stop working and you're going to release from it and you're going to go on your merry way and do other things. You're never going to die, actually. Isn't that fantastic news? You're never going to die. Ever. But you have to be really, really, really aware of the fact that your body will and that everything else physical will also die. And that is the best way that you're going to start shining your light even brighter, because you're going to know that it actually matters and that it's the only thing that matters. And it's going to remind everyone around you who sees you that it matters. And it's going to be the best thing that you can do ever, to do that for yourself and for everyone right now and for the rest of time. Just like do that. Just beam out at people. I'm a soul. I'm here. My soul matters more than anything else. How about you? Remember that? Remember that you're a soul? And then they'll be like, even if they don't want to, and even if they don't recognize it consciously, some part of them will be like, oh yeah, I'm a soul. Oh yeah, that's way better than the shit that I was deluded into thinking that I was this body. It's way better. Thank you for the reminder. You guys will like high five in the astral and be like, yeah, we did it. Do that. Be that person. That's way better. I think when you know that you're a soul and you know that that's the only part of you that persists, that there is no darkness really that can even threaten you or scare you or dampen that light, maybe momentarily. But in the end, if you know that more truthfully than anything else, what could possibly harm you if that's what you are? And you know that's what you are. So there's really nothing to fear. That like destroys all the swords you ever handed out. All the fucking sharpening you did your whole life long and all of it. It destroys it, takes it right back. It's just done. There are no swords to be used against you anymore. And I like what Santos Bonacci said in the episode we did that aired a few days ago, where he said, like, fuck it. If they're going to come and fucking bring you some death because you refuse to have a vaccine or you refuse to fucking take their stupid test or you refuse whatever the shit, if they're gonna like bring that to you, if they're gonna bring it to the point of death, then fucking take it. He's like, martyrdom is like the best reward you in the afterlife that you could ever have. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, you know, in like whatever religious spiritual fronts, but what I do know is that if you're acting out of that conviction at a soul level and you know that it's the right thing to do, that is the best reward that you can get, whether it involves martyrdom or not. I know that for myself, and I hope that you remember it too. And whatever, you don't have to be anybody's savior but your own. But I hope that you remember that death is not a scary thing. It's a thing We want to stay here as long as we can and be connected with each other. We don't want to let this fear of the thing that we know for sure is going to happen, that we know for sure has happened to billions and trillions of people over time, and that will probably happen to us many more times in the future. We don't want to let that control us. We want to let something so simple and so integral to our existence control what we do and how we behave, and we especially don't want to let it control us in a way that takes away our soul presence and our soul purpose on this planet. Especially now, especially in 3 days of darkness. We want to keep that going and keep it alive for ourselves and for everyone. So that darkness can't control you. It can't convince you that you're anything other than what you are. It just can't. So don't let it. It has no power over you. You're going to be you forever no matter what. And it can try all it wants to scare you into all kinds of things, and none of them are ever going to matter, because all that's going to matter is that you're a soul and that you can continue forever. So don't give up. Don't give your light to it. Don't turn your light off for it. Don't make the darkness bigger. Don't threaten people. Please. Let people do what they're doing. And my new jihad is to stop reacting emotionally to the people who are reacting emotionally to me, because I'm not helping when I do that. And I hope to be in a place where I can remember what it feels like to be that terrified of a possibility of a maybe chance that you might someday die, and have some compassion for that, because they may have been wrong when they said that I was uncompassionate because I won't take a vaccine or I won't fucking stay off the beach or whatever. But they're not wrong that I was uncompassionate towards them when I forgot what it's like to be that afraid. And so I can do better, and I'm going to do better. I'm not going to fight with people on Facebook over stupid shit. That's definitely not reminding us that we're all a soul and a light in the world. And it's definitely not keeping the darkness at bay. In fact, it is adding a bit to the darkness. So I'm going to do better. I promise. I don't promise, I'm just going to do it. But let's not give our lights up to this chaos and this fear and this darkness. And let's definitely not forget that the people who are attacking us are terrified. And we need to get over our own terror so that we can go to them in their place of terror and help them remember that we're souls and not vessels for vaccines. So keep that light shining and bright for everyone to see all throughout this darkness, because that is how we win. Nothing can destroy that. And until you know that that is the truth, and how good and how true and how beautiful it is, I hope that you travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah. Oops.
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak, while the tongue feeds a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies, this lies is truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God gets food is sorcery. To recreate the God forgery does more than meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Henio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me? Yo?
Sculpted from the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional three ain't meeting me on top of the fourth. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with Yggdrasil, branched down. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter that they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands, putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals, artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo, bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves, bypassing maggots. They stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets, Moloch living lab. Them clasped hands at the Sabbath, smack of energy damage. They done twisted the tongues, put nanotech in the lungs. The awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking
run.